My view as editor of The Nation, which endorsed President Obama, was that we needed to understand that one man, one woman, even a president, cannot change the political system in 1, 2, 3 years, that our system is so complicated and corrupted by money, by establishment power, that it takes movements from below allied with politicians of conviction inside. I think President Obama has been a reform president in many ways. He has passed 2 major pieces of legislation, one on health care, financial reform, but they have been diluted by lobbyists, by money. Did he change the culture of Washington? Not really. He tried, but one has to understand that the Republican Party, our second major party in the United States, came to power not interested in working with him, interested in undermining him. I think President Obama's leadership style was not strong enough. And again, I think he could have brought people behind him to be the wind at his back to counter the forces of establishment power, of money in the system, and overtaken this do-nothing Congress. It is true that he had a majority, a Democratic majority in the House and the Senate, but I won't go into details. These arcane systems of the filibuster, etc., and a divided Democratic Party in many ways did not allow Obama to do as much as he wanted. Yet, there is also renewed excitement among Americans because there is a movement brewing in America, not just the Occupy Wall Street, but the 2,000 encampments occupy around America, and also the sense that suddenly the 99% of Americans who have not been heard from are being heard from and heard in the media, which has not paid attention until now. The mainstream media in our country thought there was only one movement, the Tea Party. Now they see there are not only people in Occupy Wall Street or Occupy Toledo in Ohio or Occupy Austin in Texas, but there are hundreds of groups working on issues from helping people with foreclosure and mortgages to helping students with their loans. These groups are now being supercharged by the new environment. And we also need people to run for office. I think Occupy is changing the spirit and the debate. And then there are other movements around the country. Labor movement as well is also getting a charge and energy from Occupy. But it will be difficult because, again, there is so much corporate money, oligarchical money, plutocratic money in America, which is fighting and resisting these forces. It seems sometimes simplistic, but I do think the great changes in our country, and I write about this in The Change I Believe In, have come from movements working with leaders in office with conviction. You think of the civil rights movement in the 60s. It helped bring about the Voting Rights Act. The labor movement made Franklin Delano Roosevelt a more radical president, and the New Deal something that was of greater help to people than it might otherwise have been. The environmental movement. All of these movements have brought about the transformational change that President Obama spoke of, but you cannot expect one man, one woman, one leader to do without the support. The polling support is quite high for the ideas expressed by Occupy Wall Street because 99% of America does agree on certain things. It agrees that, again, the very rich should pay higher taxes, that students shouldn't have to go into major debt to get an education, that a country that was founded on the American dream, on upward mobility, shouldn't now have downward mobility, and that the inequality in our country is dangerous. So there's a lot of agreement. It just hasn't been represented in our politics, in our electoral politics, and that disconnect is dangerous, and that has to shift, and that will be very difficult. But the Occupy Wall Street movement is quite different than the Tea Party. The Tea Party is explicitly electoral. It will take others in the progressive, independent, democratic movement to produce candidates to run. I know of a group called Progressive Majority. It is running 2012 candidates in 2012, from school boards to state races to congressional. So that group is in sympathy, simpatico with the principles of Occupy Wall Street, but it's doing its own thing. So I think you'll have a mosaic of different groups and people, but Occupy Wall Street is not the exact response to the Tea Party. They will either not vote or they will vote for Obama. They will not vote for a Republican. But it's very likely if they had on the ballot, as I believe there was a movement in Russia to have on the ballot, против всех, that's what they would vote for, because I think some of them, not all of them, believe both parties are corrupted and don't have faith in the legitimacy of the political system. But you will not, the main problem will be people not voting, staying home, disillusioned, not people voting for Republicans. And it's a global phenomenon. You know the Sinessa. You look, Tunisia, Egypt, Spain. There is a sense that politics is not working, governments are not working for ordinary people, that they don't have the legitimacy, the trust of people, and that people don't have the jobs they need, and they don't have the possibilities, and the inequality and corruption. That, far more than Obama, has precipitated what we're seeing in America now. He's beginning to pull out of Iraq. He is beginning to pull out of Afghanistan. But it is still the mindset of a national security state, and the new forms of warfare are very dangerous. Drone warfare is targeted assassinations. If this is the new phase of warfare, then we, as citizens, have to demand of our government that there are new ways of transparency, that they disclose to us what they are doing in our name. But he's not Bush light, but what he has done is continue the national security state in ways that have disappointed many.